Rideau Hall, the official residence of the Governor-General. For more than 130 years, it has been used for the affairs of the state. Foreign heads of state, including kings and queens, royalty, ambassadors, high commissioners, all are officially received here. Canadian awards are presented here. Canadian prime ministers and members of cabinet are officially sworn in here, and it's where federal writs of election are dropped. It's the most important public building intact from the time of Confederation, and houses Canada's oldest continuing institution. Madame Gabrielle Léger, wife of Canada's 21st Governor-General, once remarked, "The most ephemeral thing at Rideau Hall is the Governor-General. All the rest is history." And yet Rideau Hall was never meant to be the official residence of Canada's vice-regal. Thomas Mackay, a Scottish stonemason, prospered as a contractor in Bytown, now the city of Ottawa. He was the main contractor who built the waterways known as the Rideau Canal. In 1838, he built his family an elegant stone house. The locals refer to it as the Castle. Mackay called it Rideau Hall. In 1858, Queen Victoria chose Ottawa as the new capital of Canada. Construction on Canada's Parliament buildings began. Elaborate plans to build the Government House were drawn up. 6 years later, in 1864, the Parliament buildings were near completion. The government was ready to move from Quebec to its new home in Ottawa. But there was no residence for the Governor-General. Nothing had been built. As a temporary measure, Rideau Hall was leased from the Mackay family by the government for $4,000 per year. Mackay's family home was expanded 4 times to accommodate its new functions. This caused controversy. George Brown, the leader of the opposition, opposed the additions. "The Governor-General's residence is a miserable little house, and the grounds, those of an ambitious country squire," he wrote. The Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald, agreed. "We have spent more money patching up Rideau Hall than a palace would have cost at Nepean Point." Even with these objections, the government bought Rideau Hall outright in 1868. The mansion was greeted with little enthusiasm by its first inhabitants. Upon arrival at the house in 1872, Lady Dufferin, wife of Canada's 3rd Governor-General, wrote in her journal, "We have been so very enthusiastic about everything hitherto that the first sight of Rideau Hall did lower our spirits just a little. The road to it is rough and ugly, the house appears to be at Land's End, and there is no view whatever from it." Her husband, Lord Dufferin, said the house was nothing but a small villa. The next year saw many improvements. A ballroom, tennis court, and more rooms were added. Chandeliers were installed. Opinions steadily improved. Throughout Lord Dufferin's time as Governor-General, numerous balls, concerts, plays, receptions, and dinners were held at Rideau Hall. "There never was so splendid a ball on this side of the Atlantic," wrote one newspaper at the time of one of Lady Dufferin's balls. Rideau Hall was becoming a center for social affairs. Gradually, Rideau Hall was no longer seen as a stopgap. In the 1950s, Vincent Massey, the first Canadian-born Governor-General, recalled in his memoirs that Rideau Hall was a piece of architecture that might be regarded as possessing a certain lovable eccentricity. Nearly 40 years later, the Federal Heritage Office acknowledged that Rideau Hall was one of the most significant historical buildings in Canada. It has been the home and working residence for 27 Governors-General. It has been said that Rideau Hall is a symbolic home to all Canadians.